hunger thirst for righteousness, for they will live. Blessed are the pure in heart, blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be fed. Oh, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be fed. Oh, na, 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 blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the poor in spirit, for this is the kingdom of heaven.
הטעם שעשה שחרר אותי מעבדות, הטעם שעשה שחרר אותי מעצבות, הטעם שעשה שחרר אותי מעבדות, הטעם שעשה שחרר אותי מעצבות, החיים שבדם מפכים לי בשמחה, השחרור שבדם עבורי הוא ברכה. שם חדש יקרא לנו תלמידי המשיח, ומלכות יקרא לנו של ישוע המשיח. הצלב שעשה הורס כל שעבוד, והזרע שנטמן צומחים פירות החירות, המוות שבצלב מתנה חיים, והצלב על הגב נעשה לשמחה. שם חדש יקרא לנו תלמידי המשיח, ומלכות יקרא לנו של ישוע המשיח. שם חדש יקרא לנו תלמידי המשיח, ומלכות יקרא לנו של ישוע המשיח. All right, Miss Jess, go ahead and say something.
Next up is Sunquest.
Anointed one, anointed to be King of Kings. But he lowered himself to be servant to all, and now he's royalty, royalty. Anointed one, anointed to be King of Kings. But he lowered himself to be servant to all, and now he's royalty, royalty. Hey, King Yeshua's gonna take it down. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi and Messiah. King Yeshua's gonna take it down. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi and Messiah. Took the written word and made it flesh and blood. But he is the one whom the Father is pleased. The Savior Yeshua, Yeshua. Took the written word and made it flesh and blood. He is the one in whom the Father is pleased. The Savior Yeshua, Yeshua. Hey, King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah. King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah. He washes his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine. His teeth are whiter than wool. We are the branches, and he is the vine. He washes his robes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine. His teeth are whiter than wool. We are the branches, but he is the vine. Hey, King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah. King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah. King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah. King Yeshua's gonna take the throne. Son of David, son of God, he's my rabbi, he is my Messiah.
Hi everybody, this is Cass. You listen to HaBaeem Radio. Up next is a song request.
Abba Father, save me from this hopelessness. God, my Father, help me fill this emptiness. I ran away from what I knew was true. I need to hear your voice and be close to you. Don't let me fall away, just like the grass withers away, and like the flower I will fade. Don't let me fall away. Abba Father, save me from my enemies. God, my Father, wickedness is all around me. Open up my lips so I can speak. Help me to stand, for I am weak. away, and like a flower, I will fade. Don't let me fall away. Don't hide your face from me when I am in distress. So turn your ear to me when I cry. Answer me quickly. Don't let me fall away. Don't let me fall away. Don't let me fall away. But Father, I cried and you delivered me. God, my Father, you opened up my eyes to see. I will lift my voice and praise your name. I will shout for joy till the heavens ring. Don't let me fall away, just like the grass withers away, and like the flower, I will fade. Don't let me fall away. Don't hide your face from me when I am in distress. So turn your ear to me when I cry. Answer me quickly. Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. Welcome to another edition of Korn and Fig. We're on the air with our good friend Elder Robert Korn, the overseer of Beth Tefillah Messianic Congregation in Queens, New York. We welcome all sincere, hungry students around the world. The rest of you can stay home and do whatever you want to do. Keep one eye on the computer and one eye on your affairs. This is a time we've set aside for you every week, Thursdays and Fridays at 11 o'clock. And it will benefit only those who want to take advantage of it. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. Elder Bob Boker Tov, welcome back to another edition of Korn and Fig.
Amen. Boker Tov, HaBaeem. It's good once again to be on board and to have the freedom to share the good news, HaBesorah, with the brethren and to discuss important things. Wherever two or three are gathered, not haphazardly or in a bar somewhere, but gathered together, sharing the word that's being shared is Messiah. So Yahusha is in the presence of those who share his word, who are encouraging each other with the word. So his word, his voice is coming forth as we open up our mouths and share his good news. So he is in our midst this morning because we will be certainly talking about things that are relevant to Mashiach, to those who pursue the righteous standard and seek to become holy ones, Kedoshim, and walk as Messiah walked. So this is what we need to do. And again, we're trusting that this isn't a one hour a week thing for you, but to jumpstart and the fact that it's right on the cusp of Shabbat reinforces the purpose of Shabbat, which is to rest, but it's also to stop. The root of Shabbat is to stop. So that one day a week, even as the Torah was given to Moshe on Shabbat, dealing with Shabbat as the subject, that we stop and we have the opportunity to hear the word declared. And with these Moedim, with these appointed times that we've just celebrated, we remember Yom Teruah for the day of not the trumpet so much as the awakening blast, and the preaching of the word is a Teruah. It is the voice that is heard clearly, even as we read about Ezra preaching the word on the first day of the 7th month. And we are to be a Teruah to each other, to encourage each other, and to bring forth his truth. And this is a long introduction. I'm sorry I'm going on. My motor's been running, and it's been held back for a couple of weeks, so it's a little, the wheels are spinning.
Your motor is a blessing. No problem. Baruch Hashem. Yeah, blessed is the name of anyone and any teacher who comes in the name of Yahuwah. So go ahead, Brother Bob.
Amen. I'm just grateful for these Moedim, and there's so many people who have a little checklist, and when the Moedim come by, they just put a check next to it and go on to the next, and it's done. But the Moedim, which have concluded technically the seventh Moed, the eighth great day has passed us, but we could talk and be involved in all of these Moedim throughout the year, because Messiah is always our Passover lamb. He is always our unleavened bread, and we are to be unleavened with him. And we are to receive the concept of the first fruits and receive Torah and the Spirit. We are to anticipate the great teruah from on high to call us to be with him. But in the present tense, we hearken to the teruah of the effective preaching of the word. And of course, Yom Kippurim, the plural of the atonements, reminds us that we are in judgment. The believers are being evaluated, even these days, the days that we live in. We are to walk in him, and we are passing the test, so to speak. One of the important things to remember about Yom Teruah is the idea of remembrance. Even as in the Decalogue, we are to remember the Shabbat, to keep it holy. He made it holy. He made it to be a holy standard that whoever meets him and shares that perspective of holiness are to rest as he rested, to stop as he stopped, and to give him thanks and express our appreciation for him in everything that we do. And as we hear that teruah, that we're called to respond to him, to respond to his call, to walk as he walked. And so the Sukkot is such an important concept also, the idea of the sukkah, the provision of his presence around us. And it's not really something from Leviticus 23. We see that through the book of Bereshit. The garden, Gan Eden, was a type of a sukkah, in that the Yahuwah placed the man that he made in the midst of this paradise, in which he was hedged in and protected, and in which he dwelt. And the most difficult thing he had to do was pick up the occasional leaf. There was no weeds to pluck or anything, so his job was a pretty easy, low maintenance job. And so he protects us. And I was looking at the various root of the word sukkah, because sukkot is feminine of the word soch, and it's a hut of entwined branches. It serves as a screen. It also is used to refer to those who are fenced in and covered over, protected, defended, hedged in, and who are joined together. So there's a lot of teaching in Sukkot that we can continue to preach on these subjects throughout the end of the year and the beginning of the next year. Sukkot is a subject of rejoicing. 3 times it's mentioned in Torah that Sukkot is to be a time of our joy, of rejoicing. Number one, it's the successful completion of the agricultural cycle, but it's also acknowledging that he dwells among his people, and beautifully the fact that even as Shaul says, it is no longer I that lives, but it's Messiah that lives in me. So the fact that he dwells in us, we dwell in him, there's this holy communion that takes place, and we need to live up to that and have that standard be our standard, and not feel the need to make excuses for not feeling up to it or whatever. We need to be motivated and have the desires that he has desires. Even as we were praying this morning, my wife Regina and I, we were thinking about these things, about what the Lord likes, what the Lord wants. They should be our likes and our wants also. We are to be family. We are to be mishpacha. We are to be ultimately resurrected as spirit beings who will be like Mashiach. We will see him as he is, because we will be like him. So there is this great potential that begins now, that we are born again of the
Yes, amen. Very well put. A listener had that question. What is that root word again? She was asking that sukkah is derived from. What is that root word?
It's soch.
Such.
Sukkah is the feminine form of soch. So if you look at like a Strong's Concordance site, it's 5521 sukkah, and soch is right there. 5526 possibly.
So okay.
Sachat is the word which refers to the refuge, a dwelling, a canopy, a pavilion, a shelter. It's a place. He is our hiding place. He is our shelter. So all the symbolism of this word it implies an intimacy, to be within, to not be locked out as the foolish virgins were locked out. They didn't have a chance to go in, and they didn't have a chance to enter into the presence because he does not know them. He does not remember them. Again, alluding back to Teruah, the day of remembrance. We remember us into life, and I depart, I don't know you.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to acknowledge that interaction with the Most High, Yahuwah, and also with each other.
That's right. Amen. That is 100% correct. And it's all about, we talk about the two greatest commandments. I was just meditating beforehand. It's easy to say, love your neighbor as yourself because that's what Yahusha commanded us to do. But I was just meditating with myself. I guess that can get you in trouble. Some people call that speaking to yourself. But I was thinking about some of my teachings of the past years where I talk about honor, kavod. And I was thinking that when you give honor, that is one of the main ingredients of love, loving your neighbor as yourself, honoring. And what I've taught for many years, and I had to reinforce it in my own life, at this stage of my life, is that honor grants access. When you dishonor a friend, a leader, a minister, okay, when you dishonor them in some form or matter, you lose access. And I make sure to see that in my life, if I don't honor somebody, I can expect to lose access. And the same with others as well when it comes to their relationship with me as their spiritual leader. So I think that part of love is giving honor to whom honor is due. And I think Sholiach Shaul says those who labor in the word and doctrine, like yourself and like others, we don't need to be demigods. We don't need to be, we don't need to lord it over people, but we're worthy of double honor. So I've always remembered that all part of the second greatest commandment. But when you honor another person, you will have access that other people do not have. When you dishonor them and you're not walking in a hava, you lose access. Does that make sense to you, Bob?
Yeah. The thing also is that, the biblical faith is an Eastern faith. And the farther Eastern you go, there's a concept of losing face by disqualifying yourself because you're found out to be a fraud, but also that you don't want anyone else to lose face either. There's a sense of unity in that respect. We don't want to embarrass anyone, and we don't want to embarrass ourselves. And loving our neighbor is not a natural thing. It's not a natural inclination that we do, but it is the way that Messiah would have us do it. We don't want to do it, but you know what? As we do it, we realize why we're doing it, because we take people off their guard and they appreciate it and so on. Even if they don't appreciate the fact that we've given them a reason to believe in Yahuwah, to believe in unconditional love. Even if it's in exchange of a good morning and a smile, I do that in the mornings. People walk by. I don't know everybody on my block still, and I will still say good morning, and I will still say how you doing type of thing.
Yeah, and then they look, and then sometimes,
and
sometimes they look.
to do that.
Sometimes they look. Yeah, but
the Lord loves the unlovable.
Mom.
I'm not the most unlovable. I'm not the most lovable person.
But sometimes they look at you weird, right?
Yahusha loves the
Hey, you ever notice when you're walking by somebody and you're just being friendly, like "Good morning"? They if they don't know you and their wound didn't hurt by this world, they look at you like you're either weird or gay. Did you ever notice that? When you're just nice to somebody, this world is so rotten and so evil and so full of corruption. Sometimes you just say "Good morning" to someone, and they look at you like either you're weird or gay. You ever?
But you know what? That's on them.
Exactly,
I've
exactly.
received much more favorable responses and smiles and even initiating a conversation through that greeting. The world is going to reject any form of Yahoo, any form of Elohim that's expressed, because it challenges you to be better than who you are. It challenges you to be the best version of you. So the idea of loving neighbor is a challenge, because we're brought up in this concept of competition, keeping up with the Joneses, doing whatever in order to show that we're better than someone else. We're as a believer in Mashiach, we should be over those games. We should be. You want to be okay. You want to perceive yourself better, then go right ahead. Enjoy yourself. I'm not going to feel hurt by your need to exalt yourself. It's a sad thing. So if I say good morning to somebody, they kind of do that, the kind of response. I'm not going to return curse for curse or anger for anger. Yeah, well, same to you, buddy. That doesn't work in the kingdom. It doesn't work. That mentality doesn't work. And at the same time, we can't be superficial and be false and be like zombies, like Moonies, and just kind of have a glazed look on our face. We present ourselves as real, genuine people. That's why, as you've discussed over the years, that people, when they preach the word, their voice changes. All of a sudden, they start saying things in a manner that this is not natural talk, and then they speak in such, even the vocabulary changes. All of a sudden, they become Shakespearean English. All of a sudden, all this stuff kind of
Right.
comes to the surface, and
Right.
it's not genuine. And the world, if anything else can be derived that is good for the world, is the world insists on being genuine. To be taken seriously, I got to know that you're real. And the best we can do is to be genuine and to be sincere. And if you don't like it, if you don't accept it, if you don't want to respond to it, it's on you. That's fine.
It's interesting, Bob. I don't know if you found this. This is probably just me. It's not you, but there's something about good morning that works. But then you can say the same thing like good afternoon or good evening, and they look at you twice as like, oh, you must really be gay, because it's somewhat acceptable in our society to say good morning, But if you say, oh, because it's like 6 o'clock, good evening, they're like, huh? Because like if you go to the supermarket or you go to the grocery store, right? They're more likely to say, hi, how are you? They're not likely to say, good evening, sir. So the whole good evening and good afternoon is like passé. Have you ever
The
noticed?
reason why good morning is so appropriate is because it's a quiet time. Everyone's just kind of waking up. Everyone's just started on their day. It's a much quieter time, and that's why it's more noticeable when two people pass each other unaccosted. Where there's no interaction. Because when it's busier and it's noisier and the traffic is more, it's more excusable that you're not going to be quick to chat up a storm. But in the morning when it's so quiet, I almost find it too awkward not to say something.
Right.
So,
right.
Because again, the day is beginning. It's just like our lives begin. We're being born in the morning. We're getting our big boy pants on and voyaging out of the house, going to work, going to wherever we're going, and walk the dog or whatever. And it's quiet, and I think we're most receptive because we have less interference with everything else. The heat of the moment of each day has yet to catch up to us. The busyness of the day has yet to really present itself. So the morning is usually the easiest time to get a greeting in. And you're right, I'm more apt to say good morning to somebody than go to the afternoon and then going someplace or driving someplace and somebody walks past them. It's more natural for me to begin the morning with a greeting. I should perhaps work on that though.
Exactly. So go ahead, whatever you'd like to share from the Word, and I'll share as well, as we're led by the Ruach, Romans 8:12, as many as are being led by the Ruach. They are the 153 fish, or the B'nai Elohim. As we know, the gematria of fish, of B'nai Elohim is 153, and that's the exact number of fish that Moshiach caught after his resurrection, saying that he was rebuilding Israel as the not just physical but as spiritual, and those who are regenerated in the Ruach. So being led by the Ruach, we can go forward and give us some chapters and verses. We welcome all of our friends and listeners around the world. Please don't forget to share that we're on the air, and we're on the air for you guys. And later on in the broadcast, we'll take a few questions and give them to Elder Bob and go from there. Questions on any topic, but right now we'll stay on the topics that the Ruach wants us to have. So go ahead, Bob.
Okay. Actually, I wanted to read one verse in Isaiah, Yeshayahu, the 4th chapter.
Okay.
I wanted to read from verse 2 to verse 6 in Isaiah chapter 4. And this ties in with the theme of the Moedim, with the fall feasts. And it's a really beautiful thing. Again, it's why it's so important to grapple with the vocabulary. That's why it's good to have a concordance. Look up some of these words, and you'll see an expanded meaning on things that you didn't know was there. So anyway, let me start. In that day, the branch with the tzimach. Now the branch is a very curious word, and it's controversial.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay. You're starting in Isaiah 4:2.
Yes.
Okay. But to me, and I respect that, and I don't have a problem with that, because you and I respect each other. But to me, verse 1 is beautiful. So can I read verse 1?
Yeah.
And then because to me that's personal. Like, it's not you, but it's the church and the religious world. They just love to skip over this because they have no explanation for this, and they try to explain it away. And I don't want to do that. In that Yom, 7 women, that's talking about the millennial kingdom. I don't care if it's metaphoric. I don't care if it's physical. I can care less. The point is still made. In that Yom, 7 women will take hold of one man. Now we know the one man is the Mashiach, or it could even be a righteous man. This is talking about the day of the Sukkah, which is probably what you're going to get into, the Sukkah of the millennial kingdom. In that Yom, 7 women, 7 is perfect, the perfect bride of Mashiach. One bride made up of 7 women. We see that theme of multiplicity, taking hold of one man, which is the Mashiach, but it could also be a tzaddik man in the kingdom, saying, we will eat our own lechem and we will wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by your last name, your family name, to take away our reproach of widowhood or our reproach of being single. So those who oppose Torah marriage, we see that it will be practiced in the kingdom. And even if you take this metaphorically, so, not to argue, we still win and we still make our point, because you have 7 women having the family name of one man, whether it's the Messiah or whether it's a righteous individual. So I just wanted to say that, because in that day when Yom Shekulo Shabbat and Yom Shekulo Sukkot, this will be practiced. Whether religion likes it or not, we're all going to be joined to the Messiah, every one of his brides. And 7 is the number of the perfect bride. And like Ephesians 5 teaches us, we are one bride, but many members. So it's always the same concept.
Amen.
Sorry about that. So go ahead, verse 2.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm glad you pointed that out, because that fleshes out some of these verses as well. That having that understanding of the brides seeking to be with this one individual, to be honored by his inclusion of them in his life. In that day, the branch, the tzimach of Yahuwah, will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land be the pride and glory of the survivors in Israel. Those who a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. So again, we have this structure, so to speak, over them and over those who are assembled. He is creating something. It says, overall, the glory will be a canopy. And the word for canopy is chuppah, the bridal chamber, the place of intimacy. So again, I would tie in with that first verse actually better. So I will include that in this. I was just focusing on these specifics, but I should have included that. It will be a shelter, and the word for shelter is sukkah, and shade from the heat of the day, and the refuge and hiding place from the storm and the rain. So he will provide this shelter over us, even in Messiah's ministry, and Simon Peter makes reference of this in his epistle, recording the gospel with regards to the transfiguration. What did they think it was? What was going on? It was Sukkot. Let us build Sukkot. One for you, one for Moshe, one for Eliyahu. The reason why we know that these three people were the people they're described is because they were using the common names. They knew that they were talking about very specific things. So it was most likely Sukkot. And what happened? The covering came down upon them. And that's where the transfiguration took place, when Messiah had said that without dying, there are those that will see the kingdom. And this is the kingdom on Mount Hermon, the same place that was defiled by the fallen angels.
Yes.
So this is where this is happening.
That's right.
And
Yes, good
one of the
point.
things I wanted to talk about with regards to the branch, the tzemach, we see that in the book of Zechariah, where we have the Targumim, which were the translations of Hebrew into the common language of the book, in which the word tzemach, which is branch, was literally changed to Mashiach. It was so known that this is a code name for Messiah. And for Messiah also, as you're saying, in verse 1, that it is either Mashiach or a true tzaddik, a true kadosh, somebody who's truly kadosh, who is a holy one. And again, there should be no distinction to a certain extent, because we are walking as Yeshua walked, walking as Mashiach walked. We are one.
Excellent.
We are one with
That's
him.
right. That's right. Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
So one of the interesting things that I found also, not so much with regards to the sukkah, but we see that the sukkah and the chuppah are both types of places of intimacy, place of being enclosed and sheltered. And we are in the shelter. We are in Elohim. We are in Yahuwah. So there's this real amazing intimacy. And one of the things I wanted to look at was the fact that tzemach is used interchangeably with what word? Natzer, the branch. And the early believers were referred to as Natzarim. Now, if you look on the internet, you'll see a lot of different people claiming to be Natzarim, or there isn't a truth to this word being used for the believers. When it talks about the Nazarenes in the Brit Hadashah writings, it's really saying Natzarim. And what does Natzarim mean? And it's interesting how the word Natzer is, again, the same. Most Hebrew words have a three-letter root. Okay?
Root.
And it would be Nun,
Tzaddik.
and Nun. So Natzer, the root of that, it's used. The Natzir is the preserved ones. The word Natsar is referred to the guardians.
Watchman.
Isaiah 49 refers to those who are preserved, enclosed, and locked away.
Yep.
So the Natzarim are who we are. I used to look at this verse and think, those who follow the person of Nazareth. And it's much more than that. In fact, there is no prophecy of Messiah coming from Nazareth, but there is prophecies talking about him, about being the Natzer. He is the place. He is the branch. He's the righteous branch. And those who follow him must walk as he walked, and also be of the branch. I am the vine; you are the branches. As Shaul talks in the book of Romans about being grafted in,
I want to relate something, Bob. Can I want to interrupt for? Can I relate something? You there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isaiah chapter. Before you move on, Isaiah chapter 4, as you were saying, is a beautiful. The sukkah is emblematic of the fact that the millennial reign has come, that the malchut of Yahuwah has come. And we do that going into the sukkah for 7 days, the seventh day being the Hoshana Rabbah, the day of the great salvation. So when you read Isaiah chapter 4 through the eyes of the millennial Sukkot, the promise is fulfilled inside the millennial Sukkah. Now, I want to relate something like Paul in 2 Corinthians. He said, I knew a man in Mashiach who was caught up to heaven. And he didn't know the details, the vision. He didn't know all the details, but he said he knew a man in Mashiach who was caught up to the third heaven. And I want to relate something. I knew a man who can identify with this personally, and he was there to witness this. He had more than one wife, and the first sukkah that he was married, that he was a polygynist, he went into the sukkah, and to this day he told me that was the highlight of all the Moadim. I know this sounds weird to some folks, but out of all the Moadim that he ever kept, out of all the sukkahs he ever kept, that was the most, because he had a team. He had joy on his right hand, on his left hand, and he literally experienced Isaiah chapter 4 because he was in the sukkah with his wives. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. So to him, that was, from what I understand, to this day, it's a sukkah that I think he said that he never forgot out of all the Moadim that he ever kept. And we see that prophetically right here in Isaiah chapter 4. He had that special joy.
Amen.
Just interesting. Just
and,
that
whole idea of tabernacling and dwelling. And the Greek word for that, the skenos, is again to a temporary residence, so to speak. But he offers it as an eternal abode with the Most High. Okay. I want to look at Yochanan 17 if we could.
Yep.
The whole chapter obviously is worth reading, but again, this sense of intimacy, the sense of within, is so precious that those who trivialize the gospel, HaBaeem, really should be ashamed of themselves. Those who try to sell a cheap and grace presentation don't really get what is expected of us, how we are to live, and how we are to appreciate what is being offered. And I'm going to start from verse 16, okay? Yochanan 17, verse 16 says, Messiah referring to us, they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. So there's an equality here. They are not of this world, even as I am not of this world. Okay? Satisfy them by your truth. Your word is truth. So the word is satisfying. Your grace is sufficient. Your grace is your instruction to us. Okay? Your word is truth, and we will be satisfied by this. We will be sanctified by this. So we will be satisfied and sanctified by your truth, which is your word. So we need to be sanctified. That's the whole purpose of keeping the Shabbat, right? That we know that it is He that sanctifies us. He makes us holy when we approach Shabbat in the same attitude that He's given the Shabbat. He makes us holy by doing what He requires of us to do. Remember to keep, shomer, to keep, honor, to guard, to protect. We honor the Shabbat. We protect it. We don't want it to be defiled. We don't want it to be interrupted by something less than, because everything that Yahuwah offers is more than. So we don't want anything less than or anything that's mediocre, because everything that He offers to us is superlative to the highest possible degree. So your word is truth. And then again, He draws the comparison. As you sent me when we preach Yeshua's word, Yahusha is being spoken. He is in our midst. These are not my words. These are his words. So, again, we will believe in him through their word of me, and my word through them is an important, really important idea to get across. Because Paul refers to this several times in his writings, that what he's saying to them is being appreciated because they understand what it is, that it's not just his words. He didn't stay up the night before practicing and rehearsing, but he's speaking, words that are breathed by the Ruach. Okay?
Man.
Okay.
That's right.
That they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that you sent me. And he refers to this a few times, for us to believe that Ha'av sent Yahusha, had sent his Devar to us, that it's important to know where he comes from. It's like we hear a song. Who's singing the song? Who is this? We hear it on the radio. Who is this? Because this is a good song. Who is this? We need to know who it is. And I'm being always interested in music. I always want to do a little extra research, find out if I really liked it, read about this character try it. Okay, I know what you like, and I'm going to start to like this too.
Mm-hmm.
We grow together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we become echad, the spouse, however many, and and the group.
Now, Bob, behave yourself.
To be selfless, and pretty soon, it's okay. We can go and do this. We can go and eat that, and it's good. It's something you enjoy, and my enjoyment is seeing you enjoying it. And pretty soon, it's one and the same because we grow together. He is in us. We are in him. He's in the Father. It's just this amazing puzzle that he's putting together in these words of intimacy. And if we think anything less than what Yochanan 17 is talking about, you know, whenever we feel that we're kind of skating on the thin ice of a new day, we need to look at these words and what's up, what's truly up is the way that he lays this out. To believe Mashiach and what he accomplished was specifically ordained by the one who sent him, and they are one in purpose, they are one in function, and they are truly echad, and they are one, and we are in that oneness also. We are in there. We are absorbed and our not our individuality, but our self. That's why it's death to self. That's why you have to die to self to truly experience life. And life is truly originating bara, because he creates it. He creates it, and he says it's tov. He's the one who says thumbs up or thumbs down. He either says, depart from me, I never knew you, or he says, come, my faithful one, and embrace your future with unlimited potential, unlimited possibilities. I'm withholding nothing from you in the hereafter. Everything is open to you, whether that's traveling billions of light years away to some distant galaxy, whatever. He says it's all on the table.
Mm-hmm.
So when we try to juxtapose our relationship with Elohim with some other thing that we do in the world, like we're faithful Yankee fans and we're hoping for a championship, wait a minute, it's nowhere near that.
Mm-hmm.
Or yesterday I had eggplant parmesan, which I love, and I love it a lot, and I love a lot of it a lot, even better. And it's nothing compared to the love that we have for Yahuwah. He
Right. Now,
always shall be.
Now I noticed that I picked something up there. You were sharing skating on the thin ice of a new data. Sounds like you used to listen to Jethro Tull.
Oh, absolutely.
I picked that up. See that? Wow. See that? I don't know if that went over the head of most. That was one of his lyrics, right? Or their lyrics.
Skating away.
Skating away, right? Skating away. Skating away on the thin ice of a new, right?
Exactly.
Wow, I picked up on that. That was cool. So it'd be okay, everybody. It's out of the closet. Everybody knows Bob is a recovering Jethro Tull addict. All right, the second thing I wanted to talk about, just comment on. And by the way, I used to love Tull. Until I found out the demonology that he was involved with. But man, that guy, Ian Anderson can sing. That's for sure. Talking about his sukkah, and people, especially when you do deliverance ministry, aren't you worried that the devil is going to attack you? And wait a second, the devil's going to attack you because you belong to Messiah. So I want our students to understand that the safest place you can be is in his will. So metaphorically, when you're in his will, you're in his sukkah, and the multiple layers of sukkot, like what you were hitting on, him in the Father in him, them in us, manifesting themselves to us. So there are layers of sukkah, and one sukkah is transposed or superimposed upon another, and all those sukkot become echad. And the safest place, and this is very important for all of our students to understand, you could be doing dangerous work. You could be a missionary in Africa and with tribes where they still practice cannibalism. And when they're hungry, you can be their dinner. And you don't have to worry about that. The safest place you could be is in his will. And I always have to remind myself of that, because I know that I have opponents. I know that I have opposition. And I know that I have to within and without. And so it's very important to remind yourself, and for all of us to remind ourselves, that the safest place we can be is in His will. And being in His will is represented in the sukkah, because that's the Shekhinah, that's the intimacy, that's the wedding canopy, that's the consummation act, etc. And so I want everybody to understand that if you are not in His will, you could be in danger. And so I don't care if you live in the mountains, away from civilization, where thieves and robbers and murderers have no access to because you're high up in the mountains. It doesn't matter. That's not safety. You could be in the inner city. You could be in the ghetto. You could even live in New York, like Bob does, and like I used to, and be more protected as somebody that runs to the mountains as a survivalist. Because I'm going to repeat myself. The safest place you can be is in His will. So it is paramount. It's of paramount importance that everyone know His will for themselves, because His will for your life may be different than His will for somebody else's life. So it is a paramount, it's a matter of safety and preservation.
Amen. In fact, people are always quick to quote, if Elohim is for us, who can be against us? You have to make sure that He is for us in the fact that we are compatible with Him, where He sees us, He notices us. Again, He remembers us. He takes note of us. He concerns Himself with us. This is not just a blanketed statement to the world. This is to those that are His. Even as Paul talks about, what's going on in the world is out of my jurisdiction, but what's within the body of the community of Yahuwah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm focusing on. So if we are truly His, if we are truly for Him, just like with Yehoshua, remember? Are you for us or against us? He said, neither. I'm representing Yahuwah. So if you are on Yahuwah's terms, then step in line. Which is a really important idea, really humbling. Are you for us or are you against us? No, we're not choosing up sides here. This is truth against the lies of the adversary. So we have to make sure that we are aligned properly and that we have earned, and that's a tough word to use when we're talking about the biblical faith, but we have earned the acknowledgement of the Most High by walking in His truth. We earn it in the sense that He notices us, and it is what's to be expected. Just as a child, a father has two children. One is obeying, one is misbehaving. Which one is he more apt to be kind to? The one might need a swat on the butt, but it's not because he doesn't love him. It's proof that he does. But the one that he always had, not the prodigal son, but the other. I have always had you. Your love was always here. You still have your inheritance to look forward to. Your brother piddled it away, but I'm welcoming him back from the dead to life. But you're still with me. You haven't dropped one iota in my love and estimation because you have remained faithful. People forget that the prodigal's brother might have been a little bit bitter, but he was 100% right, and he was not rebuked specifically. But the Father will love those who are unlovable sometimes. That can frustrate us. That's why we judge by external means sometimes when we should not, because the eternal Yahuwah does not judge by external means. He looks at the inner workings of man and woman. And so, are you for us or are you against us? We don't have room to truly stand by that kind of statement if we're not walking in it.
And as you know, Luke chapter 15 speaks of the two houses of Israel. The son with an attitude, who is more or less with Yahuwah in terms of preserving the Torah, is Judah. The prodigal son is the house of Israel, the 10 tribes who went off wandering in the exile, eating pig and so forth. And we see the heart, speaking of the will, because we're just talking about the will of Yah, we see the will of the Father collectively is to restore the tabernacle, the sukkah of David that has fallen. And the way that Yahuwah fulfills Amos chapter 9 in restoring the sukkah of Daoud that has fallen is by, and for us New Yorkers, it's David, is by bringing the prodigal back so that he has two sons on his front porch. And the two sons can become echad again in his hand. And we see that again confirmed in Ezekiel 37. So Ezekiel 37 with the two sticks becoming echad in the master's hand, we correspond that to Luke 15 and the prodigal of the two houses, the prodigal son, and we see the two houses becoming echad. So there is the individual will, which you must understand for yourself. That's your place of sukkah and protection. And then there is the collective will of what Abba is doing collectively in the earth. So a lot of people who don't know Yahuwah's will, they either don't know, they don't want to know, they're threatened to know, because something may be required of them that is beyond their comfort zone. And in that, if that's the case, I would encourage you to be in his will today. And the way you can be in his will instantly is by saying, okay, Abba, as I wait for your will in my life and for me to understand it, is I want to know what you are doing in the earth. What are you doing in the earth? And when you understand what he is doing, say, okay, can I join your team? Can I be part of your team? And that's how you can be instantly in the will of Yahuwah. Now, based on Amos 9, based on Ezekiel 37, based on Luke 15, he is regathering and restoring the scattered sheep, the remnant of both houses of Israel. And so we say, can we join in the two-house message? Can we join in the two-house restoration? And he said, of course. And then we are doing his will collectively, but of course we can wait on Yahuwah and renew our strength to get his will, into his individual will for our lives. So Isaiah 40:31 is also very important. So we have
even the calling of Shaul of Tarsus is very much gathering the northern tribes, and because Pax Romana, Rome just happened to be in charge, but by Pax Romana, all the roads that lead to Rome and all the different the countries, Paul was given absolute freedom to travel and to go to all these locations that we read about in the book of Acts and in his epistles. But going outside the parameter of Jerusalem, he encountered many of these of the northern tribes. Many of Israel were of that group.
That's right. And that's why he was going to the synagogues, not only looking for Jews, but for the Yirei Yahuwah, or the quote-unquote God-fearers. And many of the God-fearers,
the proselytes at the gate,
were joining themselves to Israel, either as friends of Judah, or they were the returning 10 tribes of Israel. Because if you'll notice in Ezekiel 37, not only is he going to regather both houses with no idolatry, no paganism, under one melech, but each of those houses has friends. It says, Judah, take one stick for the house of Judah and his friends. Take another stick for the house of Ephraim and his friends. And these two sticks. So the friends, people say, well, if you teach the two houses, you're teaching that everybody has to have Israelite blood. Not at all. Because if you read Ezekiel 37 carefully, it talks about the friends who join Judah and the friends who join Israel. So each of the houses that are being restored, like it was in the days of King David, also have friends with no Israelite blood who are joining. So it's a beautiful picture. The word of Yah cannot be clearer. And I think it's very important, Bob, that we understand, that you understand, because you and I came through the gate of the church and then Messianic Judaism. And Messianic Judaism doesn't teach this stuff. To this day, they are vehemently opposed to the return of their brother Israel, Ephraim. And they make fun of it, they ridicule it, they call it the two-stick shtick, okay? And so when we believe in the restoration and regathering, not just of Jewish Israel, but of non-Jewish Israel, because the 10 tribes were never called Jews, we are rejected. So there are many layers to this rejection. one of the reasons that the Messianic movement, by and large, although it is changing, I must say, I was one of the first to begin to teach on the two houses 20 years ago. And today it's pretty much standard theology in the Nazarene movement. And so it is changing. I mean, because we've been diligent to try to be faithful. So it is changing. But one of the satanic reasons, the spiritual reasons that the two sticks is rejected is because by definition, ipso facto, it would mean there are other parts of the chosen people who are not Jewish. Number one. Number two, it affirms polygyny. Again, because if Yahuwah has two brides and he's taking these two brides and teaching them to get along and become one family, so, I got to be against that because, see, like I said, there's a deeper level of opposition. It's not merely that the Jews think that they're the only part of the chosen people. There's also another layer to this thing. If you admit that there are two houses of Israel, ipso facto, you have two brides who need to become echad with the master. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A couple of points, and even in the Torah, going back to the Torah before the split, before the diaspora, remember there's all these provisions for the Ger Hagor, the Gentile within your gate, those of the nations who dwell among you, who hear of this great Yahuwah and dwell among you. He's not just passing through; they're dwelling among you. They're interested in you. They hear good things, just as like Ruth wanted to know this Elohim, wanted to know this. So the Ger Hagor was prefigured long before Israel was dispersed and sifted through the nations. Another point is you mentioned the prodigal again, and again that brother is like that form of Judaism that are jealous at the thought of sharing the attention, because I got your attention. I'm your one son. I mean, you only got one son now. Your other son is dead. We sat shiva for him, and he's gone. No, he's not. He's alive. He came back from the dead. He's returned. He's made teshuvah. So he was no longer the sole beneficiary. That's why we see that Sarah was so upset with Hagar that her son was trying to share the spotlight with her son, Yitzhak, that was being weaned. In other words, it's a sign of his growing up and entering into the promise that they kicked out. They needed to leave because there's no sharing in the spotlight there.
All right, so, exactly.
Again, that whole prodigal picture. Can I share one more verse?
Yeah. Matter of fact, we'll go to 12:15 because I want to allow some of our audience to ask questions. So share what you like, and then we'll give everyone. If you have a question you'd like to ask Elder Bob or myself, just go ahead and type on this, of course, on the word. Please don't ask us why the New York Times is losing subscribers, because that's off topic. Okay, so be so kind. If you have a question, try to keep it based on the word of Yahuwah. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, it's from Psalm 5. And again, you were talking about defending before. And again, an interesting place where the sukkah appears, but we don't see it in the English, is in Psalm 5, verse 11. And Psalm 5, verse 11, it says, again, that's Psalm 5, verse 11. But let all those who rejoice, who put their trust in you, let them ever shout for joy because you defend them. And the last portion there is, let's say it slow, Even in our struggles, even in our insufficiencies from time to time, there's no better place to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's got all the solutions. He's got all the answers, and we need not go any further. It's a dangerous proposition.
Yes, I mean, very well put. Alrighty, are there any questions? Go right ahead if you have a question for myself or Elder Bob. We'll stick around for a few more minutes and take your questions on any topic scriptural that you may want answered. Any clarifications you need, we would be happy to do that for you. In the time remaining, we'll just wait a minute or two. Just quickly type it out if you have a question. If not, we will sign off and be with you again, Yah willing, for Shabbat, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bob, while we're waiting for a question, go out. You can give out your contact information for friendship, for prayer.
Sure. Again, my home phone number is 718-366-5282. And my email address, and yes, it is AOL, so I apologize for that, but it is milkakorn@AOL.com, and that is milk a corn. My wife was trying to write milk a corn, which is the equivalent of her name Regina, and she came up with Milka by mistake, but we just decided to keep it because it's conjures up interesting images. So milkacorn@AOL.com or 718-366-5282, and we meet on Myrtle Avenue in Queens. So for directions and the further interest, we meet at 10 a.m. on Sabbath days. So if you're interested, if you're in the area, you want to visit, please do so. We're here.
Man.
But thank you again, Moshe, for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Once again, to share. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Really,
absolutely.
It's been wonderful for me to do this.
Yes, absolutely. And Bob will, he'll make time for you and speak with you, pray with you, answer questions, whatever we need. Well, we have one question before we go. If there are others, now's the time to do it. I would like to hear about the revelation of this Navi who teaches. What do you mean, William? Please, I don't understand what you're saying. You would like to hear about the revelation of a Navi who teaches. I don't know what you're saying. I'm not understanding your question. Which Navi are we referring to? Or which Navi are you referring to? Linda Thomas has a question, Bob. I'll take a shot at it first, and you can take a shot at it. When saying prayers, can I still say prayers for my prayer books? Catholic, Orthodox? No, I would discourage that. Linda, you need to. We have the Siddur you can get from us, Nazarene Israelite Siddur, that keeps the prayers kosher and in Yahusha's name. Number one. Number two, don't mix the kadosh with the treif. Okay, the word says, "Be ye separate, be holy, be kadosh, for I am kadosh." So I would take the Catholic books along with the anti-Messiah books that they call prayer books, and I would burn them. And I'm serious. I'm not being harsh. I'm talking about what I believe would please Yahuwah. Not only should you not use them, you should burn them. William has a question here. That in the new city will there be a temple with a place for Levi and Melchizedek? Yes, I believe that in the millennial temple, the Levitical order of Zadok will be restored under the order of Melchizedek. But when you come down to it, they're really the same, because the Levitical order were supposed to be the sons of Kohath through Zadok. Okay, so technically, the Kohanim were not Leviim. Okay, the Kohanim were a sect, a family from the tribe of Levi known as the sons of Kohath. The sons of Kohath continued their genealogy through Zadok in the time of King David, the priest Zadok. So technically, the Kohanim from the tribe of Levi are Bnei Zadok or Zadokites. Malki Zadok is the king of the Zadokites. So a lot of people are a little confused in the temple. Will the Levitical order be in charge of the Melchizedekian order? The answer is yes, because they're merged. Just like the Father is in Yahusha and Yahusha is in the Father, the sons of Zadok are also righteous under the king, Malki Zadok. So the two priesthoods literally become echad, just like the heavenly Jerusalem descends, Revelation 21:1, and becomes echad with the earthly Jerusalem. So in the end, all things will be gathered together in the Messiah to become echad. The two Jerusalems, the two priesthoods, the two houses, everything will be collected in and through the Messiah to become echad. Bob, you want to quickly just comment on that?
Yeah, I believe in the unification, just as there's a spirit that is innate, created within mankind to make him special and distinct from the rest of the creatures, who are all nefesh, they're all living souls. But a spirit is put in mankind to allow us to think and plan and think in abstract terms and so on and so forth. But when we come to Mashiach, he gives us his ruach, which joins with our spirit and makes us a born-again new creation. So I see that as a foreshadowing of that Jerusalem over Jerusalem concept as well. A new Jerusalem over the old, making one new thing.
Yes.
Truly a new thing.
Amen. By the way, Elder Benjamin says thank you for your teachings, Bob.
Oh, thank you.
Amen. Amen. So we're going to sign off. We're going to wish you a good Shabbat tomorrow. We look forward to having you all join us tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Shalom, shalom, Yisrael.
Shalom, shalom.
All right, Bob. Have a good one. We love you. And Yah willing, I'll speak to you Monday. I'll let you know more about that Larson fiasco. All right.